Presidents from both parties use it. Oftentimes, government abuses its citizens, sometimes on a partisan basis. So sometimes relief can be viewed as partisan, but it's not. I think.
Now, did you hear what he said? He said sometimes the government abuses its citizens on a bipartisan basis. Huh? Yeah, he said that. He said that, and it's interesting. The reason, and I'm just going to stop it right there. I'll leave the clip so you hear the rest of what he has to say. But he said that. So I wanted to give us a little bit of a background on the Judgment Fund when it was passed, its purpose, right? Because a lot of people don't know about the Judgment Fund. Now, I've known about it for a couple of years. So just give a little background on the Judgment Fund. It was actually created in Congress in 1956, codified in 31 U.S.C. Code, Title 31 U.S.C. Code, Section 1304. It pays certain final court judgments and Department of Justice approved settlements against the U.S. government when no other specific appropriation covers them. So in essence, it's kind of a last resort, but it is still in place so that people can have redress against the government when there are harms that are caused, right? Now, its purpose, it was created in 1956 under Dwight D. Eisenhower. Okay, and the fund was established to streamline payments and reduce its own workload. Before 1956, Congress often had to pass individual appropriations bills for judgments, which caused delays, extra interest costs, and inefficiency. The fund was initially capped at $100,000 per claim and applied mainly to smaller judgment from courts like the Court of Federal Claims or district courts. Okay. Now, in 1977, the cap was removed. Shocker, right? And expanded access. So for more federal tort claims and accident cases, this happened under Democratic President Jimmy Carter, a Democrat-controlled Congress also, right? This change made fund uncapped, right? Allowing much larger payments without new congressional approval for each one. Now, critics, including some conservatives in recent years, argue this created potential for executive overreach or large-scale settlements without sufficient oversight. Absolutely, because it can be like, hey, do what you want to do. Yeah. Now, historical Republican support overall. So strong historical support for the concept. Republicans backed the original 1956 creation as a practical reform to limit government waste, right? Delays and interest and free up Congress for bigger issues. It aligned with conservative principles or efficient administration. Bipartisan use, both Republican and Democrat administrations have used the fund extensively for decades. Okay, Reagan, Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden oversight hearings, such as the 114th Congress, noted that presidents from both parties have directed payments from it, and they have. Now, recent Republican skepticism. Many Republicans have criticized large or novel uses of the fund, especially settlement funds or mass compensation programs. Examples include Obama-era settlements in Keepseagle farmer claims, the recent 2026 Trump DOJ anti-weaponization fund, which is $1.8 billion from the Judgment Fund, which faced significant pushback from GOP senators and lawmakers concerned about precedent, potential payouts to January 6 participants, and bypassing congressional power of the purse. But you already put this in place in a bipartisan manner in the 70s. What are we talking about? Now you're mad. Now you're mad because it's working against you. See, it's one of those things that was like it was put in place to be efficient, to do a good thing. And then people were like, ooh, but what we could do with this. Yeah, those chickens always come home to roost, right? They really, really do. Now, I took a look at the judgment fund. So it does exist. I just want people to know, like, this does exist. It's here. And if you basically Google judgment fund, you will come up with the Bureau of Fiscal Service. Now we're going to get to this in just a second. I wanted to look at Keepseagle because somebody actually sent me a link. Coach TP, shout out. Thank you so much for sending me this. This was actually a little bit of the catalyst for my show. So I really appreciate you sharing this with us. Now, the Justice Department, this goes to announces anti-weaponization fund. This is the fund that Donald Trump has put in place and regarding the people from January 6th to have redress against the federal government, right? The plaintiffs in the case, President Donald Trump, Eric Trump, Trump organization, filed suits against the Treasury in Southern District of Florida. Following the leak of their tax returns per the settlement, plaintiffs received formal apology, but no monetary payment. They have agreed in exchange for creation of this fund to drop their pending lawsuit with prejudice and also withdraw to administrative claims, including for damages resulting from the unlawful raid of Mar-a-Lago and the Russian hoax. So that's where the money technically came from. Okay. Now, the fund will have power to issue formal apologies and monetary relief owed to claimants. Submission of a claim is voluntary. There are no partisan requirements to file a claim. Any money left when the fund ceases operations will revert to the federal government. The fund will receive $1.776 billion, 1776. I saw what you did there. And will come from the judgment fund with a perpetual appropriation allowing DOJ to settle and pay cases. On a quarterly basis, the fund shall send a report to the Attorney General outlining who has received relief and what form of relief was awarded. Now, in Keepseagle, hundreds of millions of dollars remaining in the fund were distributed to nonprofits and NGOs that never made claims. Now, that's interesting. They were able just to take the money and give it to people who never made a claim. Interesting. Right? Now, the Obama DOJ settled by putting $680 million from the judgment fund into a bank account for single claims administrator to dole out. So they didn't even have to go through the judgment fund to get the money at that point. In Keepseagle, the remaining money, which ended up being over $300 million, was distributed to entities that had not even submitted claims. Very interesting, right? So I looked it up in GROK because I was like, what is Keepseagle and what are we doing? So I wanted some background. So Keepseagle versus 𝗪𝗪𝗡. It was filed in 1999 with a class action lawsuit brought by Native American farmers and ranchers, right? Led plaintiffs Maryland, George Keepseagle, alleging systemic discrimination by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They claimed the USDA denied them equal access to farm loans, loan servicing, and other agricultural programs from roughly 1981 to 1999, while approving similar requests from non-native, often white applicants. So they were able to do this pretty much based on direct harms to their ethnic group because they were saying, you're not giving us the same access and the access should be equal. Now understand, Native Americans, they are not United States citizens. It's a weird thing. It's a treaty thing. We'll get into it later, but let's just establish that for conversation. Okay, so in 2010 to 2011, under the Obama administration, the government reached a settlement, $760 million, with $680 million from the Treasury Judgment Fund for compensation. Successful claimants could get up to $50,000 Track A or up to $250,000 Track B with more proof, plus debt relief and tax relief. The claims ran in 2011. Thousands applied, but many eligible people reportedly didn't file due to distrust of the government and lack of records. So they didn't have the records to go in and show like, hey, this really happened to us, right? And sometimes people just don't keep those track of documents. They don't. And this wasn't really necessarily a class action lawsuit in that respect. So let's continue. So about 380 million remained unclaimed after payouts. In 2016, a court-approved modification to settlement distributed the leftover funds to Cypress to indirectly benefit the class, right? So 38 million was fast-tracked to dozens of nonprofits via the Native American Agricultural Fast Track Fund, NAAFTF, and 265